Well, welcome today to another edition of the Calculated Collective. We are here in the beautiful Hoffman building, and today Guy Walker, my friend, neighbor, landlord, client, is joining us to have a little chat. As I put together that little intro, I was like, gosh, she lives behind me, all these things.
I didn't realize how many connections there were either,
Right?
so thanks.
And we're in this gorgeous office building that we've been in for a year now, just over a year.
Yeah.
So that you guys redid. So, Guy, I really wanted to have you come down today and appreciate you taking the time. Talk about, I said the name of this has been the Calculated Collective. And we spend some time talking about risks and the risks people take and business owners. We spend a lot of time talking about community. And the real reason that I wanted to have you come in today was to talk about downtown Salina. Ashley just said she works downtown for 9 years. I think Iron and its predecessor, Assurance Partners, has been downtown now for about 13 years in a couple of different buildings. So many things when you talk to the public and people from out of Salina talk about downtown. So not to put you right on the spot without a directive question, but what made you guys get involved behind downtown Salina?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it started with just conversations around town. I think it was really, if I think back, I mean, kind of started a little more loosely than that, even people reminiscing about downtown being more vibrant.
Sure.
People older than us, like our parents' generation, can remember a time when it was the only place there really was to even shop. Obviously, that has changed dramatically.
There were multiple theaters.
Yeah, right. I mean, you had the Fox Theater, the Vogue Theater, and I have a little bit of a memory of that as a kid.
Okay.
But pretty young age, the mall was built, which changed downtown completely. But I would say it kind of started with that type of conversation, and then it morphed into people talking about what can we do to improve our community. How can we help our community grow? Probably the biggest question is, how can we get young people to stay here? I remember people asking that a lot. The chamber at the time was starting to talk about that a lot in terms of workforce retention and expansion, because businesses were, I think now it's probably no different now, but there were 1,000 open jobs. And so just are there things that we can do to kind of shift that to where maybe there aren't so many open jobs and we can encourage people to move here and to stay. So I think that's really, to me, if I think back, that's probably the starting point.
Well, that's great. And it made me think that it all doesn't have to be Kansas City Power and Light, right?
Sure.
We don't have to have a great big entertainment venue to have a vibrant downtown with a ton of restaurants that we've got today and entertainment, and more retail comes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So how many years ago did you guys buy the Hoffman?
2019, I believe.
Okay.
UMB was wanting to sell. They still were spread out over all 4 floors of this building and the entire building next door.
Okay.
So they had not a lot of people, but they were taking up obviously a lot of square footage, and they were ready to sell and consolidate into the first floor. And honestly, I have to admit, we seemed like good real estate. There was a parking lot included. So we were like, sure, we'll give it a try. We really honestly had very little idea of exactly what would transpire and how that would transform. But it was, in some ways, it's been one of the best decisions we've made, not necessarily, for a lot of different reasons, but one I would say stands out the most is it kind of taught us like what is possible down here. Okay. Like we were like, okay, well, let's try some office. Surely there's some people that want to be down here, but we really didn't know for sure. And around that time though, Corey Metlin reached out, who's the 4th floor tenant with Tier 1.
Okay.
And he said, gosh, I'd really like to be downtown. And we're like, okay, maybe this can start to work. And in addition to that, we used historic tax credits, state and federal, which that was all just kind of a learning experience to really, help maybe educate us, given that we're not like traditional developers, educate us on what's possible and how you can get things done. We would not have been able probably to do the level of finish that we did here without like the tax credit. So it was just an example. I think it just really, really opened my eyes into like, okay, you kind of got to think about this creatively. Like there's multiple buckets of money and multiple ways to like, to analyze a return on investment. And so it's been really helpful from that perspective as we've kind of continued to look at other pieces of real estate downtown.
Well, it's gorgeous. And for anybody that hasn't been to see it, come visit Iron Insurance on the 3rd floor of the Hoffman building, and you can see all that they did. It turned out gorgeous. So down on the other end of Santa Fe, you've got a few blocks down on Santa Fe, you've got the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And you said this for 2019. When did you guys start talking about the hotel?
Well, I think the hotel, I'm glad you asked that, because as I think about your first question, I definitely would want to give, I always try to give credit to, I mean, there was definitely a community-wide conversation, but Brian Richardson, in my opinion, clearly, with Iron Insurance,
right,
and the Field House, and at the time he'd already done Blue Sky.
Yep.
He was buying buildings and fixing them up down here long before really anybody was having a conversation about even, and so I want to give him a lot of credit, because he really, I think he opened people's eyes, like, hey, this is maybe doable.
Right.
But we started having those conversations. It was probably around, I think, 2014.
Okay.
That was when Salina 2020 was formed.
Okay.
And I think with Brian and some other people got a group of business people together and community members and just said, hey, should we give this a try? And we kind of thought our piece was, okay, well, we could do a hotel. We had a couple of other hotels at the
hotel
time.
Space.
Yep.
Sure.
So we thought, well, that could be our piece.
Right. Sorry, Brian. I actually remember sitting on a gym floor somewhere with you and him telling me he'd like to build a field house.
Yeah.
And he could put it on that property. And I was like, we might be able to make that an office building, and then we would move downtown. So yeah.
Because the office building is the only piece of the old hotel that stayed, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Which is hilarious to think that was once the Hilton.
Right. The Hilton.
Now there's a Hilton downtown. Yeah.
The Hilton. My folks stayed in the hotel this last weekend, and it's just gorgeous.
Oh, good. I'm glad they stayed. Yeah.
So it was just fantastic.
Great.
And you guys have plans you're thinking about to have another one downtown?
We are. So the current hotel is a Hilton product. It's Homewood Suites, but it's a part of the Hilton family. And we think that a Marriott product would do really well down here. Marriott's the biggest, they're the biggest rewards program in terms of number of people who are enrolled.
Yep.
And that's a huge driver for hotel rooms these days for
Those
both business travelers and
yep.
Exactly. On a personal and on a leisure, on a leisure and a business side. And there's not a ton of Marriott product here. We've got the Courtyard and the Fairfield. So it's the biggest footprint for the rewards program. And we probably have the least number. It's got the least number of hotel rooms in Salina. So we feel like it's a really good fit, and the Homewood's doing really well. So we're excited to be looking at the corner of Walnut and Santa Fe for that.
That'll be perfect.
Yeah. Kind of across. It was the most recent use was DVAC. They've moved quite a while ago.
Right.
And then we were able to get the building behind that under contract.
Okay.
So it's exciting. Should be kind of similar in the sense of like the Homewood runs basically from Santa Fe to Fifth Street along Mulberry. This one would run from Santa Fe to Fifth Street along Walnut. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Great location, close to the Steve.
Yeah, it's kind of it's one of the better corners. I mean, from a retail perspective, at least in my mind, for downtown, you've got Martinelli's, which is super busy, Stiefel, which is a big attraction. So it's like, hey, this is a pretty good spot.
Martinelli's, it's funny. I actually filming this, and she and I talk about Martinelli's, and every time I go out in Western Kansas, people find out I'm from Salina, and most people say, that Italian restaurant downtown.
It is amazing how many people know that. Well, I think it's been 25-ish years. Is that
a
something?
long time,
which is crazy. So that's
at least I've lived here 26.
Yeah, so longer. Yeah, it's definitely become an icon for downtown.
That's just fantastic. We talk about employees and young people downtown. So Blue Beacon's corporate headquarters are here. So how many employees do you guys have locally?
Oh, well, we have about 210 at our corporate area. We have a manufacturing and parts distribution and things that support the truck washes and the car washes out there. So it's about roughly 180 at the corporate office, 30 in that side of the business, which is called Powerback. But then we have probably roughly 50 employees at the Homewood, and then roughly 50 at the truck wash.
Oh, okay.
So we're around 310-ish. I mean, that's high level, but that's locally, I guess, is how, total.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
And for everybody else that has employees in town, we just all community wide need to do a little part to make downtown better. I'm excited saw an article the other day about the river project still inching along. What a long road that is. That's a lot of work.
Incredibly long road, and requires a lot of different resources. But I'm excited to see that hopefully break ground here in the next 12 months, because of, like you said, it's a big part of it is runs right through downtown basically. So should serve as another kind of anchor for for the long-term
And
success of
kind of
downtown.
connects downtown over to TPAC.
Most definitely, yeah. Yeah.
be-
In my mind, it connects a lot of the community in general. We have a decent trail system, but they're all
Sure.
they're all kind of broken apart by stretches of the community that don't have a trail. This to me really links like a lot of it, which I think will be phenomenal.
That'll be
I'm
fantastic.
super excited about it. Yeah.
So, what's going on in downtown?
I try almost all the time to share about the small businesses because I think there's so downtown is doing well, and I don't want to like rain on that parade.
No.
But I also do always like to share that because some of our leases are percentage rent based, so we actually get to see the sales numbers for a few of the restaurants and retailers. So we get to see how they're doing. And while I don't ever share that, like the details of
Sure.
that, I do think it's important though that Salina downtown seems super vibrant, and it's doing well. But I do very much think that, well, I guess I'll put it this way: it keeps me up at night wondering, will it continue to grow and improve, or I feel like we're still very much at a tipping point where the wrong decisions or what's the right just things not maybe going our way, it could very easily tip the other direction and start to go back kind of towards what it was before, with a lot of empty storefronts and things like that. So that I always do like to talk about how we kind of view all that we do as, whether it's buying real estate and serving as landlords, or whether it's buying real estate and trying to help small businesses get into business, we really just view that as always trying to take incremental steps to make sure that it can stand the test of time, I guess.
I think that makes sense. And I always tell everybody, I mean, it takes the community to
very
support
much
all these small businesses,
yeah,
right?
Very much.
The second part of our office here is in the Nelson building, and that turned out gorgeous, a different vibe than the Hawthorne, but gorgeous with the bookstore. And I forget the name of
Peachy Cheeks,
Peachy
the new one.
Cheeks.
Yep, right. Yep.
So I've been in there. It looks really cute, but hopefully they do well.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. They are probably the newest retailer, and it was one of the few times. The other really cool thing about that is, at least in my experience, it's one of the few times where we've been approached. Typically, it's kind of been the other way around, where we've been reaching out to people, like recruiting and like, hey, do you want to come check out this space? And so she reached out to us actually, and wanted to open a store. They're new to the area, and so she has some retail experience and wanted to open a store. And so it was really nice to be on the other end.
I bet.
Yeah, it was great to have somebody reach out to us instead of us recruiting.
Well, it was funny to watch the market shop change hands and then stay, right? What a nice turn of events that is, versus somebody shutting down.
Yeah, I think very easily could have gone the other way, where it just closed, and we would have lost another business that's probably been down here. I can't remember how long. It was close to 30 years, I think.
Probably.
So it's great to see it change hands and stay with somebody locally.
And staying in this block, I go in the Prairie Land Market fairly frequently. And
I just had lunch there. I go there all the time. I'm there pretty regularly.
You said this at 1:00 where you were going to come down and have lunch at.
Yeah, absolutely. I go there quite regularly.
It seems to be doing well.
It is. Yeah, it's actually doing extremely well. I'm thrilled. It was another one of those gambles, where you don't really know how it's going to do. And there's a strong board. And
I was going to say the vision of that board.
Yeah, took some risk again, but the community supported it. I mean, the board fundraised to get it done, and was able to really fundraise to complete the project and really make it kind of special, not just barely complete it, but it feels a pretty unique place for a community of our size. And I am thrilled to hear or to report that it is doing really well. I think it's going to be just fine. Yeah.
Well, and then I wasn't going in any particular direction, nor down the street, but you can hopscotch and go from restaurant to restaurant to store all the way down the street. And it's just fun to walk up and down the street these days.
Yeah, and we have don't have the lease signed yet, but we are negotiating a lease with a kind of a breakfast lunch style restaurant.
Oh, fun!
So that's exciting. Yeah. Yep. I can't share really who it is yet, just because, like I said, the lease isn't signed. But it was another example of where they weren't necessarily coming to Salina to look specifically at downtown, but once they saw it, they thought that it seemed like a good fit for their restaurant. So it's great. They have 2 other restaurants under the same name. So not in Salina, but in Wichita.
Oh, great. We're visited here by a bunch of insurance companies that come from sometimes Wichita, but mostly Kansas City. And everybody that comes through town and visits us at our office, they're just amazed by how vibrant and energetic downtown feels like almost every day.
Yeah.
Some of them complain about parking, but that's
Yep.
part of what we're going to have to put up
Hear
with,
that
right?
quite frequently. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think, as related to the hotel, the second hotel, that block, it's a lot harder to find, like down where the current hotel is at the Homewood. It was a little easier to find land to build surface parking. So that's going to be one of the challenges, I think. Probably not for just the hotel, but my thought is, or my guess is for the whole downtown in general. I think as it continues to hopefully grow and get more vibrant,
Right.
Parking will continue to be a challenge. So we'll probably long term, I'm guessing we'll have to figure out how to address that.
I would think so.
Yeah.
But
especially as there's more daytime and office users and things like that.
But a few more steps in my life would not be a bad
thing.
Yeah,
fair enough. I know. I really love. I'm the worst because I love to walk, and so it's like I'm like, well, I walked or I parked half a block away. What's the big deal?
Right.
But it's a big deal for the retailers. I mean, the retailers.
It is a big deal.
They're probably the ones that feel it the most, I would say, in terms of if it's really full down here. I think it's pretty challenging for them.
Well, I always try to not park in front of the bookstore. Right?
Yeah,
even though I have a pet outlet.
Sure,
I try to stay away from that parking.
So. Yeah. I think the other thing that makes a big difference, and it just kind of ties back into where we started the conversation. It's amazing to me as I've learned, as I said, we work with some of the small businesses and a few of the restaurants, and I've learned how much of an impact like the field house makes when there's things happening there. Yep. And even not just the field house, but if there's a baseball tournament in town and they're playing at Bill Burke and, up at Markley, it makes a huge impact for the weekend sales of both the retailers and the restaurants. So that's something that I think I've been talking to Renee a little bit at the chamber about. Sure. They're starting this community-wide marketing effort, and obviously they have Visit Salina, which is responsible for bringing people to town, and just the importance of that. While I agree, we very much need to rely on our own community. The visitors make a huge impact. Well,
they're coming to town, and if we can get them to come downtown as opposed to head somewhere else, just like when we go to a town, if there's talk about downtown or, hey, have you been to Martinelli's?
Yeah.
Right. Well, even if Martinelli's is packed, well, now we've got other restaurant choices for people to come downtown, stay there, go to the Auto Museum, other ways to kill time during their day.
Sure.
We've talked about the field house and the activity that it drives for the weekend, right? We talked about back in the day when there used to be 2 theaters, and I can't even imagine what downtown would have looked like on most nights back then. I know when the Stiefel has an event and I'm still downtown, it's just packed on those nights. And I think that's important to drive traffic when I'm not here during 8 to 5, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How do we get people to stay downtown of a night or bring them back downtown when there's not a show at the Stiefel?
Yeah, well, I think I'm glad you mentioned the Stiefel, just because I forgot to bring it up, but maybe because I now take it for granted, which I shouldn't, because in my mind, when I look at the impact, I mentioned the Fieldhouse, Stiefel is equal or maybe even more in terms of its impact on the small businesses and the restaurants. The night there's a show, right? Even if it's a show that I think from their perspective maybe doesn't sell that well, it still makes an enormous impact on the restaurants.
Correct.
So yeah, it's huge. But I think trying to figure out, I always like to say too, we really don't know what we're doing. We're trying. We're kind of learning as we go. This is not what we do. We wash cars and trucks. Right. but when we try to talk to a lot of people, and we try to, we try, obviously Salina 2020 is not just Blue Beacon. It's a wide swath of people around the community. So we try to get a lot of people's perspectives. But I think the key to me is, I mentioned that tipping point earlier, and I think we're just trying to figure out what can we do over the next, say, 5 to 10 years to make sure that downtown stays vibrant for the next 20 to 30. I don't know that we know the answers exactly what that is, but I think you brought it up. I mean, certainly more daytime users, more office users is huge. Right. But then what's happening at night? What kinds of entertainment options are there available for people to be down here at night? I mean, the Stiefel is huge, but it's probably 60 to 70 nights a year. Well, there's still 300 others. Right. So what are the different things that are possible, and what kinds of things could be, what kinds of things could do well downtown while providing, more reasons for people to come down here and come down here regularly. So we're right. I mean, I think the only thing I can really think of, at least that's really, I feel like close enough that I could even share it, is we are working on kind of a new entertainment style piece. I can't really go into a lot of detail because it's super early, but we're having conversations with the city and even the state of Kansas on what does that look like? Like what kind of entertainment thing could we, would make sense to be downtown? So thinking more about nighttime, thinking more about various generations. You know, how do we get young people down here? How do we get to Kansas Westland students to come down? How do we get students from K-State Salina to, you know, be willing to drive all the way across town to come down here? So just trying to really think through what could that be. And we've got some different partners involved who are more well-versed than we are in what that may be. Right. So, I mean, I think it could be pretty exciting, but I would also say we have a long ways to go on bringing it to reality.
When you say tipping point, what I think of is, okay, it's one thing to have a decision, bring a business in that doesn't work, right? Some are going to fail. Right?
Sure. Yeah, no question.
Versus bringing in a business that then messes up everything that was successful. Is that kind of what you mean by tipping point?
Yeah, right? I do. I mean, I think I look at it multiple ways. That's definitely one way. Because it would almost be worse to make, in my mind anyway, to have some large project and then have it fail. I do think you're right. Yeah. That could almost be more detrimental to the long-term health of downtown than just not doing it at all.
Right. Well, you talked about, generational, right? You bring in something that my generation may like,
but nobody cares if they're under the age of 40.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I feel, and those are, that's tricky because it's changing fast
all the time,
and it's hard to know what those things are. And then you've got the added complication in my mind of what's sustainable in a town of 50,000. That's a huge, you can go to larger communities and you're like, wow, this is amazing. I would love to have this in Salina. It's like, there is no way we can make that work. I mean, I would love to, but I just doesn't seem possible. So yeah, those make it all. I mean, all those things kind of to me add to the difficulty of where do you go?
Yeah, because we're only 50,000. Plus whatever regional draw
we do have a great regional draw, and I wouldn't want to discount that because it's enormous the impact that the out of county tags make on Salina. True. Not just downtown, but I mean, if you drive through Sam's and Walmart and Target, I mean, it's unbelievable how many out of county plates there are. But I think you mentioned earlier, I think, how do we get them to come down here? Right. And so those are the kinds of questions that we ask ourselves all the time.
Yep. Well, hopefully we have more rooms for them to stay downtown.
Yeah, that could make a big, and that, that was the biggest driver, I think, for Blue Beacon, even thinking about building a second hotel, was just thinking like long-term, what can we do? And it's like, well, the current hotel is doing well. And so, a second one, that's another, hopefully 100-ish people down here every day and night, right? So just thinking again, what can we do that's reasonable, but hopefully adding to the long-term success.
Well, when we talk about regional draw, right, the hospital's got a new project going for.
I forgot about that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
I heard Joel talk about this a month or so ago, and 40% of all of their stuff comes from out of the county.
I think Stiefel has a similar number. Really? I think theirs is 40+% of
the community theater used to have a big number that way too.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that hospital project. The hospital is a huge driver for downtown in general, and that's a really big project. So that's pretty exciting to see it coming, especially that close to. I mean, it's like walkable for people who are there. So yeah,
of course, and then to utilize an old space that.
Yeah, nobody really knew what would happen.
Right.
Yeah, so. It is. It's pretty exciting. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's
I like utilizing old spaces as they're finishing up work on the last Lee building.
Yeah, that's gonna. I forgot. I always forget about that too. Pretty amazing to have in a community of 50,000 to see those old, big, historic buildings repurposed is great. I agree because it's not easy. I think they used historic tax credits as well.
I think they did.
Which they can be a little bit challenging, but they make a big difference in terms of being able to get a good return on the older. As you know, these older buildings need a lot of. So.
Yeah, they do. So, but our landlord's good. So
thanks. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, they try. Let's say thank you for that.
We were just talking about activities and entertainment, right? One of the things that we do have is First Fridays.
Yep. First Fridays and then the farmers market as well. The farm and art market that starts in May, goes through about October. And the other cool thing about that I had forgot to mention earlier was there's a new pavilion. It's under construction right now, which will be really cool. I think it'll be cool for the farm and art market, but it should also be great for concerts at that stage. So people don't have to sit out in the summer on the hot asphalt. There'll be shade. available.
So
So
is construction going to be done by the time
it will
market
not be done by
opens?
the time the farmers market is starting, but I'm hoping that they'll be able to have kind of the second half of their season in the pavilion.
Okay.
So there's been some pretty significant delays from the manufacturer. It's like a prefab deal that comes in pieces and then they erect it on site, but it's all pre-manufactured. And
Really?
while they were very, very good at a really pretty picture, the execution has lacked a little bit. But I think those types of things, I look at how much of a difference they have made for. I mean, I know a little bit about the bookstore, obviously, and the first Fridays have become a huge night. In a couple of hours, they can make a really significant amount of sales. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of credit to Salina Downtown Inc. I think they've done a good job of pivoting, a few years ago. So they've done First Fridays for a while, and it wasn't what they wanted it to be. It wasn't super well attended. There wasn't a ton of participation by the businesses, but they really worked hard, I think, to kind of change the way it worked. They went to people and tried to get them to stay open later. And I think they really turned it into something that has made a big difference. You come down here on a First Friday and typically you can't get into the restaurants. The little retailers are full of people shopping.
But we still need people to try to come get into the
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Yeah. Please don't. I don't. Yeah.
Because I can feel the energy
on those
even during the day.
Same.
Even during the day, I feel the energy of downtown different than any other day.
I would agree with you. Yeah. Same with me. And for me as a patron, just of downtowns in general, one of the reasons I like them is because of the vibrancy.
Yeah.
You want it to have a certain energy.
Yep.
So those sorts of things are huge. And I think I feel like that's a big part that I wouldn't want to forget to mention.
Nope. They've done a good job. So as we close this up today, Guy, what was really the reason that prompted you to get behind all of this? And yes, for people to stay and live in Salina.
Yeah.
But what's your why?
My personal why?
Sure.
What? Because I work for Blue Beacon. No, I'm just kidding. Because I was forced to. No, But you guys have been so generous to the community. Whether it's thank you for saying that. That's nice. The community has been good to us as well. So
whether it's the zoo or the gorgeous hotel we've talked about. Mm-hmm. Even the outdoor space. I was down there listening to music on a Thursday a couple weeks ago. Right?
Yeah.
And just a gorgeous space. But you guys have been generous to the community. Appreciate you saying the community's been generous to you. But don't want to not talk about Blue Beacon. But yeah,
the other thing that has been big for us from a company perspective is the company's 53 years old. So it's because of the growth. We're obviously seeing this now. Because of the growth of the company and the trajectory that it took, we have a ton of retirements. We've had a lot over the last, say, 5 years, and we've got a lot more to go in the next 5, to where there's going to be a pretty significant amount of turnover of our corporate office, more than we've ever had in any one 10-year period. And so it's been really, maybe rewarding is the right word, or to see how beneficial downtown has been to recruiting. We typically are. We're a lot of times in the operations side, we're bringing people that already work for the company, but they live in places like Atlanta, Dallas.
There's more to do there.
Yeah, just a little bit. And while they, some of them have a drive, they kind of like the idea of a small town. And most of them also go, yeah, but we are making a trade-off here of having things to do. And so just to see the impact downtown has made on our ability to recruit and people's desire, not just oh, okay, I'll move there because it's a good job, but hey, this is going to be great. We're excited to move there because of different things. And one key aspect of that has been downtown. So that's been really cool from a company perspective. And then from a personal perspective, I don't know. It's a little, I don't know if I can answer the question really very well, other than just to say, I'm not really and I don't know why, but I've never really been a big box shopper. I'm not it doesn't really interest me to be shopping at the giant retail stores.
Sure.
I really prefer anywhere we travel, we try to seek out downtown, because that's typically where the small businesses and the local businesses are located. And so just for me, that's probably my personal drive, is just to see the small businesses open and hopefully do well. And, and to me, it kind of creates a sense of community and a fabric of downtown that you just don't get when you go into a huge retailer. So that's probably I think that's my personal, and I'm a little bit competitive. So I also want to see downtown do really well, even though we have this giant, out south, obviously core shopping area, which is super important to the community. I don't want to imply that it's not like the community we can't do well without that. but I also view it like I don't think we can do well as a community long term without a really vibrant downtown as well.
Not
So,
the community as a whole, right?
Yeah,
We've
right.
got to have both. Of
got to
them.
have both. Yeah.
So,
gotta have both.
spoiler alert: Costco's not coming to downtown.
As far as I, well, sorry, I heard Trader Joe's once, which would be amazing.
That would be amazing. No, I think it takes. I talked about community a lot, right? And we talked about the river, right? It takes everything, and I may not like water.
Yeah.
I do, but whether it's the river or the churches or the arts or the live entertainment, or it takes all of them to have a vibrant community
Very
to
much
attract people, because you don't know that everybody likes the bookstore.
Right, right. No, it's very true. All those things play a key role because everybody has different interests and different things.
Somebody may want to come here for the cozy end.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. I'm sure that's why.